Also, Ukrainian army has successfully destroyed 3 Russia's command centers, and 6 North Korean officers were among 20 military personnel killed after this strike by the Ukrainian army. Do you feel that North Korean leadership could change its calculus in supporting Russia after facing such casualties? Because today we also heard a statement from the South Korean defense minister. He said that North Korea would deploy another troops to Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak for what North Korea is thinking about doing, but they, of course, they're going to pay a price if they send troops into the combat in Ukraine. They're going to get killed, and I think this would be a good time for South Korea and the United States to remind North Korea that there is a very large, capable South Korean army and American presence in South Korea, so that if North Korea takes away troops or sends all their ammunition to Russia, they leave themselves increasingly vulnerable.
Do you still believe that the US would allow Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia with Western-made weapons? Because President Zelensky returned from the DC without this critical decision in such time. Do you have positive expectations about this matter?
I wish this should have happened a long time ago, but now hopefully at the upcoming Ramstein meeting this weekend, there will be some new decisions made. But I haven't heard indications that the U.S. administration is going to change their policy, unfortunately. So I think I'm not optimistic that that's going to change during the Biden administration. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not optimistic. Maybe if there's a Harris administration, we will be in a more forward-leaning, helpful approach.
Also, we have heard some interesting statements from former U.S. President Donald Trump. He says that even the worst deal with Russia would have been better rather than what Ukraine has right now. Do you agree with that?
No, of course not. He was a terrible president last time. I hope he never gets near the White House again. He did a lot of damage to the cohesion of NATO. He did nothing to help Ukraine. And I think, he would be looking for a deal that is not based on any sort of moral principles.
Does it mean that Ukraine could face a disaster in case of Trump's presidency?
Now look, if you add together the countries of the EU, forget UK, US, Canada, just the EU countries, their economy dwarfs Russia, dwarfs it. And so this is about political will. This is not just the United States. Of course, the United States has to do more. But even if the U.S. fails, it will be a disaster for Europe if Ukraine fails. And so this is where other European nations have got to step up, particularly Germany and France and other EU countries that will see millions of Ukrainian refugees coming in there, continued disruption of oil and gas deliveries and grain infrastructure, grain deliveries. So Europe has a stake in this. Whether or not the United States fails, Europe has a stake in this. So I would not put it all on U.S., therefore it's a Ukrainian disaster. And I have to say also, there are tens of thousands of Ukrainian military-age males that are not in Ukraine. They are in Germany, in Poland, Romania. I see a lot of Ukrainian cars, nice, big, rich cars driving around in Europe that they need to be in Ukraine. So Ukraine has to also do things to improve its situation.
And my last question for you, let's cover also situation on the Middle East. How could this escalation on the Middle East and this new conflict new escalation influence the situation in Ukraine, the support for Ukraine?
Well, Iran has one friend in the entire world, and that's Russia. Nobody else will do anything to help Iran. All the other countries in the Middle East despise the Khomeini regime. The Iranian people hate the regime. So I can see potential if Israel continues its destruction of Hezbollah. It seems to have Hamas somewhat under control for right now, and they could inflict serious damage on Iran's ability. Perhaps this would reduce Iran's ability to provide drones and ballistic missiles to Russia. So there's a benefit there for Ukraine. Likewise, if the West would help Ukraine defeat Russia, then Iran would be completely isolated with no friends anywhere. So I think strategically, there's opportunity here as long as Israel doesn't overreach or overstep what it can and should do.
But is Israel capable of fully eliminating Hezbollah and changing regime in Iran?
Well, I'm not talking about regime change. That's up to the people of Iran. I think the potential is there for this regime to crack from the inside. I hope it does. I mean, the millions and millions of Iranians have been suffering under there. But, I thought a couple of years ago when the women of Iran were in the streets and were challenging the regime, I thought maybe that was going to be it. But the regime was able to finally crush that. So I don't know what it'll finally take to have a total collapse of the regime in Tehran, but it'll have to happen from the inside. Israel does have the capability. They've demonstrated. I mean, they've already eliminated almost all of the main leadership of Hezbollah. They've taken out huge quantities of ammunition and capabilities. So I think that they have demonstrated a real capability with their intelligence penetration, and I think they also know what they need to do against Iran. And they probably have different levels or steps that they're prepared to take without going all the way.
Thank you, General Hodges, for your time and for your support for Ukraine, and glory to Ukraine.
Heroam Slava.
Thank you.